I'm so excited for House of the Dragon Season 3, but I don't remember anything that happened in Season 1 or Season 2. So I'm going to recap it for you. I'm going to start with Season 1, Episode 1, and kind of see how it goes and see if people actually care, or maybe all of you just have better memories than I do. But if not, I will keep going and try to get all the way through Season 2 before Season 3 comes out in June. So it's a big project, but I think I can do it. Let's get started. So, House of the Dragon is a show on HBO Max based on a section of the book Fire and Blood by George R.R. Martin, which is a companion book to the Song of Ice and Fire series that gives us a history of House Targaryen and their many issues. The show is a prequel to the events of Game of Thrones, and it covers the Dance of the Dragons, aka the Targaryen Civil War. I have not finished this book. That is a disclaimer. I have gotten as far as the Dance of the Dragons, and I want to finish it, but I am super reticent to get into George R.R. Martin's books because I'm scared that he is not going to finish the main series. And my heart would not be able to handle that. I loved the Game of Thrones early seasons, and I loved House of the Dragon Season 1. Season 2, we'll talk about it later. Season 3 is coming out in June, and it's been 2 years since I've watched this show, so I want to rewatch and recap it for myself and take all of you lovely people along for the ride. So, disclaimer, I will not be discussing Fire and Blood. I will just be doing show canon. So, if you want to come in the comments about how Allison is older and this stuff, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. We're talking about the show today and nothing else. So, without further ado, let's talk about Season 1 of House of the Dragon. Now, before we jump into the main story, I kind of have to give some background on how all the characters got to where they are, and when I say some background, there is a lot. The season starts with a great council held by King Jaehaerys, who was the 4th Targaryen king to sit on the Iron Throne. Jaehaerys' second son and heir to the throne, Balon, died unexpectedly after Jaehaerys' first son and heir, Aemon, also died unexpectedly, and now we have a succession crisis on our hands. Who will be the next ruler? We have so many options, but really only like 2 serious claims. It's Princess Rhaenys, who is the late Prince Aemon's only child, and Prince Viserys, who is the late Prince Balon's oldest son. Male primogeniture isn't like set in stone in Westeros, and there have been women that have been named heirs to the throne before, but there's never been like a woman on the Iron Throne ruling in her own right. So Jaehaerys decides to let all of the noble houses of Westeros decide who should be the next ruler, Princess Rhaenys or Prince Viserys. So all the lords are summoned to Harrenhal, and they all cast their votes. Rhaenys theoretically has a better claim to the throne because she was the son of the eldest son of Jaehaerys versus Viserys, who's the son of the second son of Jaehaerys. And when I say like first and second, Jaehaerys had so many kids, so it doesn't really matter. Like for our purposes, first and second. I'm not going to go check in the book to make sure that that's exactly what happens. So anyway, Rhaenys is theoretically higher up in the line of succession, but Viserys is a man, and he is also there. Unfortunately for all of Westeros, Viserys won, leading Princess Rhaenys to be known as the Queen Who Never Was. So when Jaehaerys dies, Viserys inherits a very peaceful 7 kingdoms. There hasn't been a war in Westeros for decades and decades, and I'm sure that it will stay that way forever. So that is where our main story picks up. We have King Viserys, who is married to his cousin, Aemma Arryn, and they have a daughter, Rhaenyra. Viserys also has a brother, Daemon, who is sort of a chaotic, violent, but highly skilled warrior. And then we have Princess Rhaenys and her husband, Corlys Velaryon, and they have 2 children, Laenor and Laena. I'm throwing so many names at you. I just want you to know how hard it was for me to gather all of these names. I had such a headache doing it, so you're welcome. We also have Otto Hightower, who is the hand of the king, or like the king's right hand, and then his daughter, Alicent Hightower. And Rhaenyra and Alicent are best friends. They grew up together in King's Landing, which is so cute. They love reading and spending time together and being just friends and nothing else. Do not read into it too much. So we get this beautiful shot of Rhaenyra riding her dragon, Syrax, and landing outside of the dragon pit, the pit where they keep the dragons. And who is waiting for her but Alicent? Rhaenyra tells Alicent that she should take a ride on Syrax with her, and Alicent says absolutely not, which is very relatable to me. I would also not be getting on a dragon that is not mine if I am not a Targaryen, but again, that's just a personal opinion. So cut to Rhaenyra visiting her heavily pregnant mother, Aemma Arryn, in her chambers, and they talk about pregnancy and childbirth. Aemma has had many miscarriages and stillbirths because she's trying to produce an heir for Viserys. And Rhaenyra is like, I see what you've been through, and I don't want to ever do that. But Aemma says that for women, the childbed is their battlefield, which really gives context to Emma's feelings on her many failed pregnancies in her efforts to produce an heir. She views it as like a necessary duty, but something that's very dangerous and very painful. So this conversation will stick with Rhaenyra, but she doesn't really have time to process it because she is late to the King's Small Council meeting where she is cupbearer to Viserys. At the council meeting, Corlys tells the king about this alliance called the Triarchy. It's an alliance of the free cities that have laid siege to this territory called the Stepstones in an attempt to claim the land for themselves. Corlys is super worried about it, and he's worried about it affecting the Westerosi shipping ports and the local economies, but Viserys and Otto, Hand of the King, could really care less and kind of brush him off. The conversation moves to Prince Daemon because the Master of Coin, whose name is Beesbury, is complaining that Daemon, who is currently commander of the City Watch, has spent a ton of the crown's money on armor and weapons and other nonsense. And here's something you need to know about Viserys. He is ride or die for his brother. He doesn't want him to be king. Nobody does. But he loves his brother and basically tells Beesbury that he doesn't care and to shut up. Viserys is really there to talk about the tournament he's hosting in honor of the birth of his child. Because remember, Aemma Arryn is pregnant. And Viserys is certain that it is a boy. I don't know why he is certain, but he is absolutely certain of it. He's especially excited about the tournament and the birth because he still doesn't have a son, which is problematic because A, his daughter can't really be queen after Rhaenys was already passed over in the Great Council, and B, literally no one wants Daemon to be king, except for me. I think he would do a good job. But nobody asked me what I think, so literally no one in Westeros wants Daemon to be king. He's arrogant, he's impulsive, he's stubborn, all historically fabulous traits in a monarch. After the council, Rhaenyra walks into the throne room where she finds said arrogant, impulsive, and stubborn man sitting on the Iron Throne. Sir, that throne does not belong to you. It's not yours. He's just being silly, though. Something that's really adorable is that Rhaenyra and Daemon speak in High Valyrian to each other, which is their ancestral language. They only speak it to each other. And again, I'm going to call it adorable because I'm going to be putting aside how bananas Daemon is. And that's really a kind word to describe his character. Yeah, so we're just going to put that aside for now. Daemon is salty about the tournament because when Rhaenyra's brother is born, he will no longer be the heir to the throne. And he is not too happy about that. Daemon gives Rhaenyra a necklace made out of Valyrian steel, so now they both have a piece of old Valyria. Daemon has his sword, Dark Sister, and now Rhaenyra has this necklace given to her by her uncle. Very, very cute if you forget that he is her uncle. Then we get to see besties, Rhaenyra and Alicent, sitting in the courtyard working on their studies together. Alicent can tell that Rhaenyra is worried and asks if it's because she's about to be overshadowed with the birth of a son. And Rhaenyra is like, no, I could not care less. I'm worried about my mother. And Alicent's like, why aren't you worried about your position? Have you not thought about this? Have you not considered the potential consequences? Blah, 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 blah. And Rhaenyra says in so many words that she does not want to be queen. She only wants to see the world on Dragonback with Alicent by her side. A totally heterosexual thing to say. Alicent is frustrated that Rhaenyra isn't being honest with her because she can tell that something bigger is going on. And Rhaenyra takes the book that Alicent is reading and tears out a page to give to her so Alicent can remember the history lesson that they were trying to study. Alicent is very shook and is like, but what about the nun who is our teacher? They call them septas. But Rhaenyra is like, F the nuns, dude, I am a princess, which fair point. So we see that Rhaenyra is a little rebellious and Alicent is a lot more straight-laced, but they are best friends and I'm sure that they will stay best friends forever and ever and ever. But as the hour grows late, we're jumping back to Viserys, who has cuts from sitting on the Iron Throne. That is not surprising to me. That chair looks so effing scary. They've gotten infected, so he's getting treatment for them before he goes to visit his pregnant wife. Again, Viserys is like, wow, I'm so excited to have a son. And Emma's like, I love that you're so certain. Love that for you. But just so you know, boy or girl, success or no success, I am done. This is my last time having a kid for you. I can't do it again. She basically was like, I can't mourn any more children. Meanwhile, Daemon has given the City Watch gold cloaks and is wreaking havoc on King's Landing. He is punishing criminals, but in the most chaotic way possible. He's castrating perverts. He's murdering people on the spot. He's riding through the city with a love for violence, not a care in the world. This will come back to bite him the next morning at the small council meeting because Otto Hightower is pissed about the whole vigilante mask murder thing Daemon did with the gold cloaks. But Daemon is like, brother, what you don't understand is I did this for you. King's Landing has so much crime that I had to rampage through the streets. Corlys is like, he kind of has a point, and the small folk should fear the City Watch. The small folk is what they call the peasants, people like you or I. And Otto is like, okay, well maybe you should spend a little less time on murder and a little more time with your wife. This is the first time we hear that Daemon has a wife, and we're like, whoa, what, wife? And Daemon is like, no, I hate that lady. She sucks. And Otto says, don't talk about your wife that way. And Daemon says, well, if you like her so much, why don't I give her to you as a replacement for your dead wife? Which really makes Otto even more upset. Viserys cuts in and is like, everybody chill out, calm down. Daemon, my best brother in the world, that's Pookie. Could you please police the city without murdering and castrating? Thank you so much. Then Daemon runs off to a brothel to hang with his mistress, Missaria, and complains that no one sees how hard he works, and what a good boy he is for his brother. And Missaria is like, yes, you are the best boy, and I'm sure that your brother sees that. Thank you for the money. The next day is the heir tournament. Heir tournament. Emma is in labor, and Viserys is watching a bunch of knights try to knock each other off of their horses, like the supportive husband that he is. Alicent and Rhaenyra are there, and they're both crushing on this up-and-comer, Sir Criston Cole. Prince Daemon is competing and causing trouble, as he always is, and he comes up to Alicent at her little booth with Rhaenyra and asks her to grant him favor in the tourney, which is just her little handkerchief. And she does this, but that upsets her father. Eventually, though, Viserys is summoned to the birth chamber because there's been a complication. The kid is turned the wrong way, he's in breach, and the solution that the maesters suggest is to perform a C-section on Emma, which will definitely kill her in order to save what could be the next king. And Viserys, who is my biggest op, when I see you, Viserys Targaryen, you will pay for what you are about to do. Viserys agrees, so he walks to his wife's bedside, tells her everything is going to be okay, and has the maesters hold her down and cut the baby out of her while she screams for him to stop, pleading for her husband to help her, to save her, to do something. Y'all, when I say this is one of the most disturbing scenes ever put to television, ugh. The actress Sean Brooke is giving such an incredible, visceral performance, and it is, geez, it's so upsetting. She is begging for his help, but he has decided that the baby is more important than his wife, and she bleeds out, scared and in pain with the realization that her husband is the one who ordered this done to her. All of this is being intercut with the joust between Sir Criston and Daemon, emphasizing to the audience these two very different kinds of battle. Criston knocks Daemon off his horse, which makes Daemon throw a temper tantrum and demand his sword in order to settle this in melee combat. In a shock twist to everyone, Kristen Cole wins! Daemon storms off like the little baby he is, and Kristen goes up to Rhaenyra to ask for her favor in the tourney, which she grants him. Meanwhile, Viserys is sobbing over his wife's dead body, but hey, at least he has a son now, and he's named it Balon after his father. Oh, what? Oh, the child dies immediately after birth? All of that was for nothing? Okay. Viserys, when I see you. We cut to a few days later after the funeral for Emma and baby Balon. You can tell that the weight of the grief and the guilt is very heavy on Viserys. He's absolutely beside himself, and good. It's what he deserves. So Rhaenyra is beside Daemon and says that she hopes her father finally found happiness in the few hours that Balon was alive. But Daemon tells her that she needs to be there for her father and support him even more during this difficult time, when again, it's his fault. Whatever. I'm going to be so mad at this for the rest of the season. I'm going to be so mad at him. I never forgive him for this. I love the actor's performance as Viserys. Put his name right here. I don't remember his name. I'm so sorry. Patty something. Anyway, he does a great job, but I hate Viserys. In Targaryen customs, the shrouds are supposed to be burned by dragon fire, but Viserys cannot bring himself to give the command. So Rhaenyra, who is again still a child, still mourning her mother, manages to choke out Dracarys, setting the pyres aflame. Gone forever. Viserys is barely functional, but unfortunately, or fortunately, if you're like me and think he deserves to suffer, he is still a king. So he has to go do king things. He's at the small council and they are talking about succession. Otto, who has no idea that Daemon is listening in from the shadows, a very Daemon thing to do, says that Daemon cannot be king under any circumstances. It would be a disaster and they need a new heir to be named officially to make sure that Daemon will never sit on the Iron Throne. And he's really going hard for this. Otto is like, Daemon might even kill you, sire, to seize the throne. And Viserys, who is again ride or die for his baby brother, is like, screw you, my brother would never do that. Otto is like, well, you could name Rhaenyra as your heir. But Viserys doesn't want to choose between his brother and his daughter, and he tells Otto as much. So Corlys pipes up and is like, well, hey, what about my wife as your heir, the queen who never was? We already have a son, so it'd just be like one girl and then a boy for sure. And everyone is like, Corlys, shut up. Viserys is mad to even be there so soon after he killed his wife, so he walks out. Then we cut to Otto's chambers where Alicent is there to visit her dad. Otto, professional schemer, is like, how's Rhaenyra? Oh, so sad. You should go offer your condolences to the king. Go visit him. It'd be so nice. Go visit him in his chambers, bring him a gift, and wear one of your mother's dresses. Alicent is very nervous about this. Like, she's not stupid. She kind of understands what's up, but she also has very little power. She kind of just has to do what her dad says. She also loves her father and doesn't really want to believe the worst in him, so she gets all dressed up. She goes to the king's chambers. She gives him a book as a gift, and they have a nice conversation where she offers her sympathies. And while that sweet conversation is happening, Daemon is hosting an orgy for the men of the City Watch in honor of his late nephew. Daemon, we didn't think this through. Was he grieving in his own way, or was he celebrating because he is the heir again? We'll never know. But it doesn't matter. Otto's spies report the latter, and Otto tells Viserys that Daemon was mocking the death of his son. Viserys is pissed and summons his brother to yell at him and ask if it's true. And Daemon is like, well, have you considered my feelings? Have you thought about how sad it makes me that you're always sending me away? And that you've been king for 10 years and never asked me, your heir, to be the hand of the king. Otto sucks at the job and is only looking out for himself, whereas I would protect you. We're family. And Viserys is like, protect me from what? And Daemon says, smart Daemon says, yourself. You're weak, and the small council knows it. This does not go over well with Viserys, who says, well, I'm going to publicly name a new heir. Daemon's like, I'm your heir. And Viserys says, "Not anymore! Go home to your dumb wife in the Vale. I don't want to see your face at court." So Daemon is kind of right that he keeps getting sent away, but also I can't really blame Viserys because Daemon is a very chaotic and abrasive presence at King's Landing. So Viserys summons Rhaenyra. They're in like the shrine grave room. They're in the room that has the bones of Balerion the Black Dread, who is the only dragon that survived old Valyria. He's the biggest dragon ever seen in Westeros. Viserys was his last rider before he died. So it's a really cool shot. Like you're looking at this giant dragon skeleton and then Rhaenyra and Viserys. Rhaenyra is confused because they have not spoken since the funeral, and Viserys apologizes. He apologizes for relentlessly chasing a male heir when he had the perfect heir right in front of him. To prove how much he believes in her as an heir, he tells her the secret that has been passed down through the Targaryen kings, the Song of Ice and Fire, Aegon the Conqueror's dream that foretold the end of men. His conquest was not solely motivated by greed or arrogance, but by this prophetic dream that stated a great threat would come to Westeros and the world at large, and the only way to fight against this great evil was for men to be united and led by a Targaryen ruler who would keep the realm together to be ready for this threat when it comes. I wonder what that's about. Anyway, cut to the throne room for the last scene in the episode. Rhaenyra enters wearing this gorgeous costume. I love it. And all the noble houses of Westeros bow before her and swear fealty to her as the official heir to the Iron Throne. Daemon is absent from the ceremony and flies off on his dragon Caraxes with his new mistress Mysaria. I don't think he's going to the Vale to see his wife. Rhaenyra will be the next ruler of the Seven Kingdoms. Definitely, I am sure that nothing will go wrong. And that was episode 1! The other recaps will be shorter, I think, because of all the info that I had to give at the beginning, but it was important context. Thank you for watching and getting ready for season 3 with me. I'm going to try to get 2 of these out every week, but we'll see. Also, I make music. You can check it out on all the streaming platforms under Sophia Lynch or right here on this YouTube page. So I hope you like this. I'm gonna get out of this costume because there's a lot. Do I look pretty? It was just for you. Alright, I guess that's it.